Welcome to the Hamlet Podcast. Today's topic is about the difference between acting in Shakespearean plays and modern plays. I'm your host, Jay, and our guests today are...
I'm Wisznia.
And I'm Artur.
Alright, so tell us, the audience, about yourselves. Who are you? When did you guys join Hamlets? What are you...
So I'm Wisznia, like I said, and I'm...
Stressed.
I'm I'm maybe a little bit stressed, but that's normal stuff for me. I've been in Hamlets for 4 full years, and this is my 5th year in the Hamlet, so I'm an old fart.
A pretty old Hamlet.
Yeah, I'm a pretty old Hamlet. Like, I'm not... There are older Hamlets, but I'm pretty old.
Okay, Grandpa, let's put you to sleep.
Okay. Well, I guess this is my last appearance. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What about you, Artur?
I
think we joined at the same time, actually.
Yeah, we did.
It's been, 3
It was like 3 years ago, and the first play we staged together was The Man from Earth.
It was an amazing play, I must say, but we'll talk about it later on. Since it's about, Shakespearean modern plays, and Man from Earth is a modern play, we'll start with Shakespearean. What would you guys generally say is the, main or key difference between Shakespearean and modern plays? In my own personal experience, I feel like acting is much different. Like when I'm acting in a modern play, it's immediately much different. I don't have to show a lot of emotion in a modern play, but what do you guys think?
I think that this is not the problem of emotions really, but the language barrier. I don't have to spend so much time with a dictionary when it comes to modern plays as when I'm playing the Shakespearean play.
No, I'm with you here, but I feel like it's still like I would mainly say it's mostly language, but it depends how you're saying it, right? So you are putting emotion into language.
Yeah,
right. Language. You can just speak anything. You can just say anything, literally.
I mean, it's sort of like that because if you presume that people don't, get the entirety of what you're saying, you have to, express a little bit more so that people get the context and stuff, and play around with the. Like we discussed it sometime earlier that with it's whether it's with music or lighting or expressing yourself physically stuff, you fill in the voids left by the possible misinterpretation or not just simply not understanding some of the phrases you use.
Yeah, you have to play it off some
English
somewhere.
Yeah.
Would you guys what's your take on your preference when it comes to the play? Because for instance, myself, I would rather go for a modern play and not have to go through all the emotion and everything that has to do with Shakespeare. And that for me just does it. I'd rather go for a modern play. I prefer a modern play more than a Shakespearean play. You can call me lazy because I pretty much am when it comes to that. I just don't want to be... Thank you very much. I'm not going to take that as offensive. But no, but my preference is that because Shakespearean takes a lot, of emotion out of you, and you have to really dig deep into yourself and take a role, study it, and then act it on stage, and you might not do that well. I just prefer modern plays more. It's not that serious most of the time. So what's your take on it?
From my experience, it really doesn't matter what type of play you actually do. It's very, very much role by role case.
For me, I mean, I have a kind of sweet spot for Shakespeare. I just like his plays, and I always wanted to stage a Shakespearean play. So I very much enjoy that. But also,
you want to direct it, or you want to act in it?
No, I wanted to act in it, of course. No, I'm.
Yeah, who the hell wants to direct one? Hi, Kuba. Hi, Hella.
Yeah, we were very done with Richard, and it was intense. It took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, it always is intense. I mean, working with people is hard enough.
Yeah. You also were in Richard III. I was in Richard III.
Yeah, thanks for remembering that.
Yeah, I died in Richard III.
He died in character and on stage as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, the story actually came firsthand from Artur, who experienced what exactly happened. So you can stage is yours. You can actually talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was it
it's-
traumatic?
It was
The
referenced.
experience
How I
of
was
stabbing?
stabbed.
Yeah.
It was referenced in the
That's
first
what you
episode
want.
of
You
the
want blood.
podcast.
Yeah. It is Shakespeare after all.
Yeah, and for me that did the play. I mean, I always wanted to like full time die on stage, like blood, and
And you got close.
that's what does a Shakespearean play. Good old bloodshed.
After everything we went through, like, you know, with Richard III, I feel like however chaotic the Man from Earth was, it was a lot easier to act there. I mean, going back just 1 second to the language, I feel like in The Man from Earth, since it's a modern play, if I was to forget a line, I have a, you know, bigger chance of improvising, right? But with Shakespearean language, if I forget a line, it's really like the end for me.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
hard
the end.
to
What am I
keep
to
it
say?
up.
It's not in my vocab, right?
Yeah, dude, that's a good point. That's the difference. I forgot about that. Yeah, you have to. If you don't remember your lines, you're pretty screwed. Like, you don't know what to fill in when you forget a word. Like, you can improvise. Like, I guess you can if you're like good. You know,
If you have a lot of knowledge in
you
the
read
language
Shakespeare
already.
all the time and stuff like that. But yeah, it's much easier to improvise in a modern play written in a modern language. Yeah.
Well, that's actually why I brought up The Man from Earth. Arthur, you and I, we both actually act in the Man from Earth. And I'm speaking of
Hey,
improvising
I acted-
because we had a lot to do. I mean, you know, you can
I
go
know,
ahead.
the
Excuse
monologues
me.
were killing us.
Excuse me, I gotta stop you. I also played in The Man from Earth.
Yes.
You have, but did you,
Yes.
like, were you in Pirkon? Did you?
Yeah, I also did it on Perkin. Thanks for remembering again, dude.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
both
so sorry.
both times
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
he was the
role.
mailman,
Character,
though.
yeah.
Not the moving company guy.
Delivery
yeah.
guy.
No. We didn't deliver anything. We took stuff from you.
Right. But that's why I brought it up, because although you can't really compare Pirkon, because in Pirkon we really messed up big time. But even when we performed normally, we forgot some lines and we were able to improvise normally. And that's why I'm asking, is there a certain preference because of language that you would choose, for example, modern play over Shakespearean play?
Oh, yes, of course. There's like a ton of things you can do with modern play, and with Shakespearean there is a barrier. You cannot you cannot just improvise Shakespearean language as you go unless you're Hella, but you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she could do it. Yeah.
she
She's all different.
I mean, she could do it, but she knows all the plays.
Yeah, and
for-
we're it's safe to assume that we will screw up at some point. So it's good to have this, you know, airbag
backup.
of having you know modern language in which we can improvise somewhat.
Yes, and it is very much needed sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But you also directed a play, right? There was a play you directed. It's a quite modern play, but using Shakespearean language, though.
Yeah.
How do you?
I directed Bart Fiction, which is a Shakespearean retelling of Pulp Fiction, the Tarantino movie. And what was the question? Sorry.
Like, was it hard to incorporate Shakespearean language into a modern play?
I was lucky not to, you know, I didn't write it. It was already
directed
done.
it.
So I directed it. So, but when you don't have to do it from scratch, it's, you know, a lot of the work is done, and you know, it's still if there were any problems, you know, in having a modern play with spoken Shakespearean words, language, so then it was mostly, you know, the weight was mostly on the actors. I, like, as a director, like, that was the one thing I enjoyed in directing, was the fact that, you know, once the play started, I could just sit back and relax and, well, actually
Pray for the best.
And pray for the best and pray that.
Well, things could be going downhill as Kasha and Jandara saw it, or it could be going pretty well. Which one did you feel like most of your, like, how did you feel it was going?
Oh, dude, there were some points which were stressful for me on every of the 3 stagings of the play, and I was a little bit nervous. I can't lie about it.
Yeah, I
but-
can still
but
remember the milkshake going on the floor.
you know, physical accidents. That's okay. That happens, and you know, the audience is more forgiving because it can happen. It happens in professional theater, I think, because I'm an uncultured moron and I don't watch that many plays. No, but yeah, I think it's more forgivable it also adds to the scene. It adds authenticity. How many times you get, some things spilled on the ground in a real restaurant? So
Yeah,
it's
that's
okay.
true.
It's okay. I didn't sweat too much about it. Worst part was, maybe it came into the equation, the fact that, okay, if that person forgets their line and they don't fill it, well enough with the other person that they're acting with, I don't know what they're gonna improvise. They don't know what they're gonna improvise. And also the language was very specific because, it was one half Shakespeare, one half Tarantino, so we had to have very specific dialogue for conveying the scenes from the movie, staying faithful to the
character.
originals, to the character, to the famous lines that I was surprised that not that many people got, but the language came in the equation as, again, very heavily. Some jokes were very good on paper. Most of them didn't land so well because they were too... I don't know.
I think it depended on the audience, really, because there were silent parts at certain staging.
Sometimes when they're also supposed to laugh at something, they wouldn't. But here also it brings back language or jokes, whether it's Shakespearean play or a modern play incorporating Shakespearean language. That's what I feel. I feel sometimes like actors have to go around trying to portray what they mean or express what they're saying, because usually they're archaic words and expressions, so it's hard for the audience who are most of the times don't know much about Shakespearean language to understand or grasp the jokes. Mm-hmm. We had this thing in I think you had this thing also in Bard fiction. They laughed at it in a certain time that they shouldn't have, and
I think that they
with
laughed with art
well.
fiction. I think they could laugh because they know the film, and they just were laughing at the similarities and some kind of visual jokes.
It was mostly the point of the play, so
yeah.
But can I make a shout out real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't know your name, but there was one staging of Bard fiction where the audience contained one person that laughed at exactly all of the points where there were the jokes. He got every single one of them, and I absolutely love you, whoever you are.
Yeah, this guy was amazing.
Shout out.
and it's a funny thing that you notice, especially from backstage when you're not playing, that it immediately changes the atmosphere of the audience. If you have someone who was already laughing, he's not afraid to laugh, he's not stressed,
he was laughing out loud.
Yes.
He was sometimes
and
laughing over us.
I really appreciate when that happens. Yeah.
Bless that person,
That was amazing.
because the social effect it had, that more people in the audience were laughing with him. They weren't afraid.
Yes.
They weren't shy to laugh. It was great.
Another question I had, do you think there is a certain pressure or expectations when doing Shakespeare? Do you think it can be motivating or discouraging?
Well, I think so, because mainly there are stories and there are plays that people saw over and over and over or read at school and that are kind of, starting to getting blank for them. And I think what is a key thing to stage a Shakespearean play is to kind of differentiate it from the other ones, the other stagings.
In what way? How?
Maybe costumes or the scenography or the choosing of actors. Because we were seeing Richard III in London, actually. We were in the Globe.
Did you see before or after we performed?
After.
We made a literally couple of hours trip to London just to see Richard III. And I remember that it was quite a shock to see that the character of Richard was played by a woman. I mean, she was great, and it was a very interesting take on that play. And I think that is kind of a thing that makes you remember the staging that you were seeing. And like rethink the concept behind Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's also like I think it's become a thing that you don't do. Oh, or you do. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't had a chance to experience it. But we rarely do like regular era appropriate Shakespeare anymore. Everything is has some kind of twists on it. So that's also what we did. It's like natural to expect that it's gonna be Richard III, but kind of modern.
I do think that there is this pressure or expectation, but I don't feel like, although maybe it should be, but I don't think that it's like an expectation from myself to myself. I feel like with Richard III, it was more like the director was expecting a lot from us, which made us we don't want to fail her. It was really, really hard. That's why I would say it's a bit, in the beginning it was very motivating to do it. It's a huge thing. Then towards the end, I'm like, okay, I'm slowly getting, discouraged. I felt like, okay, I put in a lot of effort, and was it worth it?
Did you feel discouraged, my dude?
Do you want to talk about it?
No. It's not necessarily. It's just it became too much, especially that we had to stage it a couple of times and give it the same energy that we, gave it the first time. And I feel like with Shakespeare plays, you really need to put your all into it. During the last scene of Richard III, I remember in my last scene, I was supposed to go out and yell and scream, rescue, right? And I was the whole time before going to stage, I'm like, what if I go out right now and as I'm screaming, I lose my voice?
Oh,
that would really just how would I get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Just rescue, and then my voice just cuts.
Well, I mean, you could play it off as your character is yelling rescue so long that he loses his voice.
After a huge battle, so you've been probably shouting orders all the time, so
someone could
believable.
stab you in your throat or something.
Some people believe or think that Shakespeare now is all washed up. Why reintroduce, Shakespeare plays and direct plays and act in plays that have been already done multiple times in many, many different interpretations. Why do that?
Yeah, exactly.
You could just stick with, you could just stick with anything modern.
I don't know, because we like Shakespeare, because it is kind of timeless.
Someone had an idea how to stage it, so we went with it.
It is there. I mean, it is written. Okay, so why?
Just think about the answer, why in God's name would you want more Shakespeare?
These plays are long. The language is hard.
Oh,
it's hard to understand, right? It's like everybody's staged Shakespeare in many different interpretations.
Dude.
Why do you feel like it's still relevant till this day?
For me, it's like I don't know. When I think about staging Shakespeare in modern days and if it's relevant or not, I always go back to an amazing scene from one of my favorite movies. Was very underappreciated in its time. It's the Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there's this scene where the main hero is a kid in middle school or something like that. He's in an English lesson, and the teacher tells him that the whole class that Hamlet was like the first action hero in the history of fiction or whatever in literature, and it goes to the montage of that little kid daydreaming about Hamlet being played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was
I would watch that.
It's amazing, and Last Action Hero is also amazing, but this part is it's top notch. It's to be or not to be, not to be. And he throws a lit cigar into gasoline, and something explodes behind him, or someone says to him "Oh, my fair prince," and Schwarzenegger is like, "Who says I'm fair?" and shots him.
Yeah, but I think that the other thing why we should, well, maybe not why we should, but why it is still staged like Shakespeare, is because it is, I think, slightly easier to attract people. Like when they know what they're gonna watch, when they know it's someone like it's Shakespeare, it's Hamlet, it's Macbeth, they know it's something. When they want to watch a play and they don't know the script, they don't know the author, it is not so intriguing, maybe.
If I may be
specific audience, maybe.
If I may be a little bit cynical, it's also, maybe not the fact that people are familiar with it, but it's good to say that you're going to see Richard III, or I'm gonna go see Hamlet in the theater.
And almost everybody's heard of it, right? So.
It's heard of it, but maybe I'll take a wild guess that many people have not read much more than Macbeth and Hamlet from many of Shakespeare's work, but everyone knows the titles, so it's good to it's like being high class, and it's sophisticated. And it's also a bit like that with theaters, like if it's a matter of ambition, like it's famously hard to stage Shakespeare, I guess, or maybe it's considered maybe not the easiest material to work with, so it's a matter of status among theater groups, theaters, actors, directors.
Agree with Wisznia about
I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying that it's bad or it's it's the only motivation, but it surely can be a part of it. I presume. I'm
a big part of it, though. Yeah. Also ambition, as you mentioned, as Artur said. I also agree that his plays are timeless. I also do think that it could go either way, right? I mean, you need a specific audience. Some people, I'm going to Shakespeare, it's Richard III, or it's Hamlet. Like, well, okay. It's like, we're targeting a specific audience. It can limit our viewers, but it's definitely worth it.
It's sort of
we enjoy doing it. We love it. It's worth, well, it depends if it's worth it or not.
It's, in our case, it's a little bit, it expands our audience because, let's be honest, like a lot of people who watch us are people that know us already and have heard of us, or are friends, or are from the Warsaw University
Institute of English Studies as well.
But telling people that we're staging Richard III, it could attract more people. So and I think it worked.
I think it actually did.
We had a pretty big turnout for it.
We almost didn't have enough places.
I remember some people were sitting on the
people were sitting on the
pillows.
It was also the matter of the theater that we staged. It had a little less space for the audience.
But actually we were having problems with. Because our stage suddenly got little, and
because we were on the same level as the first row, so
we didn't want we didn't want to tell people not to come, but like that's it. But at the same time, we needed some space to walk.
How do I not step on people?
Oh yeah, that was tough. That was a problem. Yeah.
But also kind of heartwarming. I mean, when you go on the stage and see it packed full, with people sitting on the floor. I mean, these people came on for the play and sit on the floor to see you, like, playing something. That was very sweet.
We had people hanging from the rafters.
Almost.
And I remember one of the stagings that we had to have, like, the side door open, so we had some people peeking inside from the street.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what the hell? What is going on in there? It was a little bit also distracting during the play.
So yes, this is the last question. We have to wrap it up because of time.
Damn it.
Thank you to Artur and Wisznia for coming and having this amazing talk with me.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, dude. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you to the audience for coming and listening. I hope you've had a blast.